They're the worst pair of shoes you've got?
Yeah, by some distance.
What's the biggest disappointment sneaker you've ever bought?
Oh. Do you know what? Probably in recent times when the original Supreme blazer, beautiful, red, black.
Yeah.
When they bought them, they did them again, awful, terrible.
What quality?
The quality, the fit, tight. The originals are red, beautiful.
The originals had a alligator or crocodile skin.
Yeah, beautiful.
Swoosh on the side, and then Nike stopped using like materials like that. Basically,
it was almost quilted leather as well. Lovely.
What's the most disappointing sneaker you've ever bought? Where you've been like buzzing, and then you've gone, oh shit, I don't like that. That's the letdown.
I don't know, but I'll tell you my biggest disappointment of a pair of trainers I've sold is, and I've sold some really expensive ones that are worth like, mate, honestly, pigeons. I've sold pigeons for like £1,500. They're worth like, mate, 40 bags now, 50 bags or something like that.
Yeah.
No joke.
What, a pair of trainers?
Pair of trainers, right? But Cherry Woods, Air Max 1 Cherry Woods. I had 2 pairs back in the day, and I sold them both for like 800 quid each or something like that.
Pair at home, and I just last case at home.
The materials
on them.
Give
a little wave all the time.
The materials are just the nicest. Honestly, they're the prettiest.
Oh, I looked the other day, they were 5.5.
Yeah, easy. They're beautiful. They're so beautiful.
I'm not going to put my foot in one.
It's like silky, like the little liners, like,
it's another language.
Did you get the bags back? Did you?
Yeah,
did they get the stain out?
No, I need to take them to a.
Was it blood that?
Yeah, blood. I think it's blood. Yeah, I know you're going to struggle with
that. You mind that? That was not mine.
No, it weren't yours. No.
There was coffee stains on it as well, Benji.
No, but do you remember I had the little one? I had
the
little ceramic. I had a little ceramic one with it as well. Yeah, ceramic one. His son just chucked it on the floor, broke it.
What?
When I lent him in, I lent him in good faith, and his son just broke it.
What?
He went in and look, not the shoe. The little ceramic thing.
You get a little ceramic like replica version of them, like that big. How much are they?
I think about 800 quid. I think I told you straight away, didn't I?
You did.
Try and hide it.
You did.
Straight away I told him.
And your lad just chucked it on the floor?
I chucked it on the floor.
What did you say to your lad?
I can't tell you what I said, but no.
Right, so we've got a double game week for you this week. We'll see you again on Thursday morning. We're back on Thursday because there's Premier League fixtures in the week as well, isn't there?
There is.
Which is nice. Gives us some extras to talk about. A busy weekend of Premier League football, lads. Enjoyed it?
Yeah, really good weekend. Really good weekend.
Any standout fixtures, any games, any surprises for you, Benty?
Any surprises? Not particularly, but great, still great.
It's lovely, isn't it? Your boys Wolves got absolutely pumped.
Yeah, unfortunately, Wolves were one of a few teams. It was a weekend full of woeful defending, I reckon.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised with the Man City performance. I really was. I just thought it was a little bit too easy for them. A little bit
also,
too easy.
Also surprised though, because of how they've been going to probably the most informed team in the Europe. Manchester City are kind of fragile. I just think.
Before the game, right? Man City were 5-2. To win the game, yeah?
Were
I think
they?
5-2. It's the biggest odds they've been to win a Premier League game since the new owners took over or something like that. And I actually thought, you know what? They've definitely still got it in them to just go and they could pump Liverpool if they were on it. An old school Man City.
But as soon as I seen the team sheet and he changed the goalie, I thought, forget it.
Yeah, come on then, Watto. Because I asked you about this off air and I said, what's the deal here?
I honestly, like, we've been in football all his lives, haven't we? And in and around it. And I think when a manager makes that decision to change a goalie of his stature, I think it's last chance saloon in terms of decision making. But like you guys know, you've been in and around teams. And the goalie, good or bad, is normally a real figurehead, leader, big in the dressing room, big on the pitch. It's the effect it has to the rest of the team when you make that big call. And that's not being disrespectful to Ortega. I mean, he came in last year and probably won him the league, finally got him over the line. But Ederson, to take him out at Anfield, I think a real big call.
Is that like... Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of Man City players that haven't been performing this season, right? Is that a fair thing to do on Ederson?
I personally didn't think so, no.
Well, what do you think, Ben? You played recently.
Again, Roy Keane said before game, didn't he? He said, I think somebody that's gone under the radar without getting it much sort of grief come his way is Ederson because some of the goals that have been going in. And I see what he's saying, but I don't think there's been any massive glarers. Do you know what I mean? I don't think there's any glaring problems.
It's what it does, though, is the message it sends, isn't it? But looking at City overall, like this, this run of results obviously is very, very poor, but what would worry me, and I want to hear your opinion, Ben, is more Pep's behaviour.
Yeah.
That midweek scratching, picking the head, saying he's harming himself, getting involved with the opposition fans at the
Even
weekend.
sticking 6 fingers up, it's him snapping.
Didn't mind it though.
No. I like it. It's good. But it's him snapping. It's him losing his kind of cool a little bit,
because
isn't
he
it?
never normally goes off track, does it?
No,
I mean,
he
you
doesn't.
imagine the dog's abuse he's had at various stadiums in his
yeah.
whole career. You've never seen him go off track like that. So his mind's not quite where he would want it to be, I don't think.
Well, also, he's in a position where he's probably never been in his whole life. Like 7 games, without a win.
Every club he's been at, he's always winning.
Exactly. So all of a sudden now, he's probably in unfamiliar territory thinking, do you know what? How do I even turn this around? Because he's always winning. Never ever in his entire coaching career has he ever been in this position. And his team are playing badly. They're an aging squad as well. Don't get me wrong, they've still got some unbelievable players. But even when you go back to the Edison situation, I don't know how you resolve that because you're almost pointing the finger at him again. I'm making this change. Like, I feel like you've been not good enough, so you're out the team. How does Edison come back from that?
That's the thing, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, Ortega actually played really well in the game, didn't he? He had a decent performance.
So he's not going to drop him now,
But
is
he's
he?
not going to drop him. That's what I mean. He has to stick with Ortega for a bit now. He can't just go chopping and changing again. He really can't.
When he's given him the chance, I always said from the coaching perspective, if you make such a monumental change, the guy coming in's got to know he's got more than one game. It's 6-8 games.
Yeah.
Edison's not going to get a chance again. Probably FA Cup third round in January.
That's it. Should we give Liverpool a bit of love though, lads, yeah? Because they were impressive. They didn't need to be brilliant, but they were impressive, wasn't they?
It was comfortable, wasn't it, Bente?
It was.
Yeah, I'd say so. I never really felt like they were in any kind of trouble in any point. And that's why when you look at that Liverpool team and you look at the importance of certain players and the contract situation, for me, Virgil was still the most important piece of that team because Salah's numbers are incredible. But I'm not saying you can replace Salah because you can't, but there are other goals in that team. You take Van Dijk out of that back four and they would be a shell. I mean, look how we handled Haaland. There were no opportunities against them. He just looks comfortable, could defend 1v1. Yeah, it was comfortable for them.
Every set piece Liverpool had, I'm thinking he's going to score it.
Yep.
He should have scored it.
He were on a hat-trick of headers.
He was on a
and didn't
hat-trick
get any.
But that, again though, for Man City, how worrying is that they know what's coming, they know that the ball's going to be angled at Virgil van Dijk, and yet every single time he manages to get the first
I'm
contact.
not sure people realise how big this guy is, right? We shot with him recently.
He's a frigging honestly.
He's 6'4", 6'4 and a half. He is a big
Hey, but you know what?
specimen.
When he first come to Southampton, I had him eating out the palm of my hand.
Did you?
Oh yeah,
Well,
big
we've heard about
words.
this famous Watto snap,
Get him in the office, and have a proper chat with him, and he was like a little boy. And look at how he's flourished since he left.
Well, what about Trent then, Watto? So we're not going to go into contract talk again, but VVD was immense. Salah does what he does. Trent.
Yeah,
The way he picks the ball up. What about those through balls, Watto?
His range, well, you've got to be able to see it first, haven't you? But then seeing it's one thing, but to be able to execute it on a 10-pence piece, it was phenomenal. Look, I think he's the real deal, and we don't want to talk about the contractual situations, but they are three phenomenal players.
Why did they bring him off? Does anybody know why they brought him off?
He said after the game, they're worried about his injury record, and with the games coming up, 70 minutes fitness-wise, again, fitness coaches, doctors, that was...
They want to sell him in January and keep him fresh.
Even they bought Quansah on, and I'm thinking, that's a little bit it's a little bit risky at least. You know what I mean? You've still got a little bit of this game to go.
I think that's how much they believe in the team and what they've got. Because to be fair, I thought they started the game so well.
Yeah, phenomenal.
It were relentless pressure, obviously the Anfield crowd, but they were relentless in their pursuit. And it could have been, to be fair, any score before the first goal.
Bente, can you try and explain how Akanji can defend better for the opening goal? Because Salah stands him up, but even there I'm just thinking you can't be able to wrap the ball around him that easily, surely.
No, you mean you got to obviously stop the cross, get your body position in the right position, but I guess it's easier said than done, because how many times have we seen defenders come up against Salah and you know he's left-footed, but they still can't. Ian Robben was a prime example. For years and years and years, he'd chop back on the left foot and people would go, well, just stop him.
Stop it. Don't let him do it.
Just don't let him do it. But I just think Salah, I mean, the cross is unbelievable, by the way. But I just think for Akanji, get close to him. Even if you feel him, just don't let him there. Make it a bit more difficult. But I guess when you're someone like Salah, who's been as incredible as he has, you put the fear of God into defenders.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. That's why Akanji didn't want to get into him.
Didn't want to engage.
Much. We had this little conversation before the show started, and you went, just don't let him get the cross. And I was like, it's not that easy.
No, but
though.
surely,
it isn't.
sure, if you're on the halfway line, right, I understand this. So let's say you're 30, 40 yards out from goal and you want to hang back because of his pace. I understand that, right? But when you're that close to goal, surely, Watto, you've got to go tight. If you get beat, you get beat.
Yeah. I think the thing for me is I think if you can get really tight and make him chop onto his right foot, I think you've had a win there and you hope everybody else is doing the job. But, like, it's not that easy for sure. But he never got within range to get really close to him. And I think that was the problem.
Yeah.
And Salah then just uses him as a mannequin and basically just uses him to shoot round. But it was great in terms of running at the back post because he makes the goal 2 yards wider. We're running in and covering that back post space.
And how many points are City? City are not out of the title race, in my opinion. What you say?
Agreed.
I agree completely. Yeah. I was listening to this conversation on the radio this morning.
They're not out of it.
And there was a few people ruling them out saying that's them done. I'm going, no, they are not. So Liverpool are 9 points clear, right? It is not out of the realms of possibility that Liverpool, within their next 10 games, could lose 3. That's the way this Premier League is going. Liverpool are incredible. They're the best team in the league so far. But anybody can lose 3 games.
But they've got a tough week now, mate. They're away at Newcastle and Everton in the derby.
Exactly.
And look, we spoke about the result, the week that I'd beaten Real Madrid in the week. It's not going to get much better. But if they come off the gas by anything in them next 2 games, we'll be talking about a different scenario.
Liverpool will
next
have
week.
a dip, Watto.
Yeah,
Liverpool
100%.
will have a dip, and then it comes onto the next game.
Before we do, please,
mate.
before we do, can we just talk about Kelleher for Liverpool then as well?
Hey, mate,
is that all
your
right? Can we just talk about... Because he's come in, right, and...
Should we go for a coffee?
No, but as far as number 2 goalkeepers go, right, you don't really want them to be playing too long, yeah? If your goalie's out, you want him to get back in as soon as he can. But with Liverpool, with Kelleher, I'm not worried one little bit. Don't get me wrong, I still think Alisson is one of the best goalkeepers in the world, but I love this kid. He doesn't seem phased. Whenever he played for Ireland a few weeks back, phenomenal performance. Every game I've seen him play so far, he looks like he belongs, doesn't he, Wat?
Yeah, no, look, I think to play for Liverpool in front of that crowd, you've got to have a certain character and a big pair of balls for sure. He bailed Van Dijk out on the one mistake
De
he
Bruyne,
made, didn't he?
Yeah.
And a big moment in the game. But he looks comfortable. But I think the problem Liverpool are going to have, he is so good that he's not going to want to just sit there and watch Alisson play.
But is Alisson going to get back in, do you reckon?
No. Kelleher's in a fantastic position, isn't he? Because let's not forget, they signed the Valencia goalkeeper, didn't they?
Yeah.
Mamardashvili.
He was your favourite from the summer.
He was my favourite.
If you're Kelleher, you must be sitting there thinking, well, I'm either going to get a really good move to a really good club.
He has to. That's it now. Kelleher has to. So Liverpool are in an unbelievable situation where they've got 3 world-class goalkeepers. They really have got 3. I don't think there's ever been a scenario like this before where they've got 3 world-class goalkeepers. Kelleher, I don't think, in Arne Slot's mind, is their long-term number 1. I don't know why, but that's just how I see it. And I think in the summer he's going to have to get a move. But it's going to be a big money move, and it's going to be a big contract for him. And he's going to get to play first-team football for a very good Premier League team. That's how it should go anyway.
Is there anything in his mentality where he knows he's not going to be the number 1 because Alisson's coming back, Mamardashvili, so you could play with that freedom? Whereas as for him, in his mind, if there was a genuine chance he could become number 1, he might be a little bit more nervous because at the minute he just seems like it's...
But that can work both ways, though, Benny, as well. That really can. If you know that your days are numbered, you know that if Alisson's coming back and he's going to get straight back in the team, or they've got another guy coming in the summer and he's going to be first choice, then you might all be thinking, my confidence is a bit low here. What's the point? I'm not going to be a long term anyway.
Yeah, maybe.
But for him to turn it and, like you say, use it in his way of like freedom. I'm just going to go and play football. Oh, he's effortless.
Yeah.
Mate. It's so nice to see, isn't it?
He's playing with real confidence, but all the things that you talk about are all in his favour.
Yeah.
So he's actually playing now in a great team, and yes, we all want to enjoy football, but at certain moments it becomes a little bit more difficult than that. But he's really enjoying his football.
I'm going to put it out there, lads. I don't think Alisson gets straight back in the team.
And what about Pep? What about Pep with the fans?
He's losing it a bit, mate.
Yeah, I think so too.
He's losing it a little bit. He's nibbling at stuff he never normally would nibble at. But it all comes from what Bentley said. He's never been in this situation
We're in
before.
serious... I asked you last week, we're in serious unknown territory now.
Yeah.
And I said to you, how many more losses before people really seriously start talking? And you said, we're already there. And now we're another loss down the line.
No.
Like, who have they got next? I don't know who they've got next, but...
Doesn't matter. The only person that will make Pep Guardiola leave Man City is Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
He's the only person that will make him leave Manchester City. Nobody will sack Pep.
No, I don't think so either. I think everything's down to him, isn't it? And we said last week he's just signed a new 2-year deal. But I think you're seeing the first chinks in his armour because he's never ever been around this situation, and the interviews pre and post games is slightly different now.
But it's good. It is genuinely good for the league, and like we look at the start of the season, well documented Chelsea, but Chelsea are contenders, aren't they, Benty?
Do you know what? At the start of the season, I've had them down as for sure top 4.
Did you?
Yeah, I said that last year, to be fair. I just felt like the squad was coming together. But now all of a sudden, the only thing I think will punish them, and I don't think they'll win the league, is just consistency. Because the squad's still quite youngish. There's still a few inconsistencies in the squad, but in terms of the players they've got, the quality, yeah.
Do you think Maresca's played it well post-match? Because they said about him being contenders, and he said, no, we're not. Other teams do a lot of things better than we do. Do you think? I think he's performing well in front of the media.
Yeah, but I think he's genuine in that. I think if you look defensively as well, I still don't know who their best centre-back partnership is. Maybe I like Levi Colwell and I like Fafana, but there's still, you saw it against Aston Villa at the weekend, there's still times where Villa exposed them a little bit, so that might cause them problems. I like Nicholas Jackson. Will he continue to score? Too much emphasis just on Cole Palmer. So I still think there's a few issues in that squad, but I think they'll be top 4 for sure. But to go toe-to-toe and push for the league, not yet.
Watto, we'll talk about tactically. I don't know whether it's just something the media talk about more these days than days of old, but they've got Caicedo, Lavia and Enzo in midfield. And in possession, out of possession, the formation is changing quite significantly.
It's modern in football, isn't it? I mean, Guardiola kind of started pushing his fullback inside, which is what they do now. But you have different formations in and out of possession all the time. If a team plays a back 5, predominantly I call it a rolling back 4, because you'd have one wing back really high, offensively or defensively, and the back 4 just slides into a normal position, and it would only be in a very deep block that you'd end up with that flat 5. And it's the same really when you're defending or attacking. You have to have slight tweaks in and out of the possession, but the midfield now is so flexible in what they do. I mean, a lot of teams, you know as well, watching more of the Premier League than I do probably in terms of the live stuff, but a lot of teams press 4-4-2 because the second or the 10 will just go and join the striker, and it's the old 4, well, in some ways it's 4-2-2-2, and just try and get some real pressure on. So the tactics of it, and that's where the Premier League is slightly different to some of the other leagues, because the tactics within a game, and you've got to be evolving in the game when you see opposition doing slightly different things. But there's it's probably the only two probably goalie, centre halves, and if you play with an out-and-out 9, the rest are really very interchangeable in modern formation.
It's so hard to, before the game, when you're looking at the lineups, predict how they're going to play, because it used to be 4-4-2, they're playing 4-4-2. Now you've got, like you said, Caicedo on the right, and you're like, well, hold on, what are they trying to do here? And then he comes in and he goes out, and it is more difficult, but again, it's just finding a way to, it's overloads really, isn't it? That's what they're trying to create, all over the pitch, overloads. And to be fair, Chelsea, Villa to a point, at the minute they're struggling, but they do it really well, creating overloads in the wide areas, and I guess that's what Villa at the minute are struggling with that, to deal with it from a defensive standpoint, because I just think they've run out of gas.
Well, Villa are struggling big time, Foz. Like we talked for weeks, haven't we, about Villa and the Champions League hangover. So out there 5 Champions League games. The following Premier League game, they've won 1.
Yeah, that's just pure emotion, that is. That's just emotional tiredness of getting up for the big game. Like, they've had some unreal games, to be fair, at Villa Park. Unbelievable European nights. Juventus, who do they play a few
Bayern.
Bayern Munich.
Beat them, didn't they?
Massive games where it's massive emotion, and then it's almost bang, you hit the ground in your Premier League and it's back to the rigmarole of it all. It's a big ask for them. It's their first season, first taste of actually doing it. I think if they can... It's a season of real consolidation. They're not going to get Champions League football again this season. You wouldn't have thought anyway, to be fair. The run that they've been on over the last 6, 7, 8 games is just, it's not been good enough. It's as simple as that.
Do you think Villa fans will accept that? Because they're a whopper of a club. They're a big football club.
Yeah, but you've got other teams around there that aren't dealing with the same sort of thing. It's similar to like Newcastle last season. You remember Newcastle in the Champions League last year? They found it really hard to cope with playing Champions League on a Wednesday, then Premier League back again. It just knocks you. It really does.
Do you think the fans will kind of almost accept that and go, do you know what? Because we've not played this level for so many years, do you think they'll go, let's enjoy the journey?
I thought they would. And I've spoke to a few Villa fans and they were like, no, we're not happy with this. We're not happy with our Premier League, like the way that we're doing so far. Buzzing that we've got Champions League football, but we want to be doing better in the Premier League. And I can't believe it, because Like we said last week, didn't we? Juventus at Villa Park in the Champions League. It's incredible. What an atmosphere. I want to go to that game, right? But they still want to win that game, then they want to win in the Premier League at the weekend. You can't ever please football fans.
Do you know what it is? Sorry, it's crazy because the Newcastle situation is similar because they got themselves in the Champions League, then they struggled the following year, but they kind of made up the gap at the end and they actually had a pretty decent finish. Aston Villa are 12th.
Yeah.
Now that for Aston Villa Football Club, regardless whether in the Champions League or not, is not good enough.
It's a big week for them because they've got 2 home games now: Brentford Wednesday, Southampton Saturday, and irrespective of all the fluff that we're talking about, they have to win them 2 games to get back on track. They have to do.
Talking about fixtures, then quickly, let me just read you out Chelsea's fixtures then for the next, let's say 6 weeks. All right. Next game, Southampton away, then it's Tottenham away, and then it's Brentford, Everton, Fulham, Ipswich, Palace, Bournemouth, Wolves.
Wow.
All winnable games, lads.
Yeah.
Like, seriously winnable games.
Well, the way they're playing at the minute, I mean, they look like a proper team. But we touched on it last week. I think because in the European stuff, they're not affected like Villa because it's a total different 11.
Yeah.
I think because they've got 2 massive squads, they can run on both. And you were laughing before. Who they got next? Shamrock Rovers.
Astana. They got Astana in the Conference League, and then they got Premier League, and then they got Shamrock Rovers in there.
But it'll not derail the Premier League performance because they're good enough. I'm not even calling them a second string because they're a phenomenal team at that level with the opposition.
Yeah.
And then the Premier League will take care of itself. So
they're doing it right now, Otto, aren't they? We spoke off camera.
Yeah.
This is a glimpse of what is going to happen in football, more widespread.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
This is it's not a B team. It's a special team for Europe.
Do you think they deserve a lot of credit then? Because I think they weren't the laughing stock, but people were like, look how many players they're signing.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, you look at it and go, hold on, are they ahead of the curve in terms of
probably.
the amount of players that they've
I
signed?
think as well, going forward, the way football's going is there's going to be more tournaments to play in as well. They'll create another tournament for something. They're already trying to do it with this Club World Cup at the end of the year, aren't they? Yeah. Miami just got a magical invite to. Like, they're going to try and create more competitions, more revenue streams, more money. Simple as that. You're going to have bigger squads, more squads. They'll increase their numbers soon to 30 players per team, guaranteed. Yeah. That's what they'll do. So you'll need to have 2.5 teams almost soon.
Yeah. And we're going to come back to the goalies, as we always do. I want to talk about, one, the injury to Emmy and how massive that might be for them. Yeah. And secondly, what a big brave boy Emmy is. That indirect free kick from 5 yards out.
Take one in the face.
Mate, you cannot...
Take it in the face.
You can't sit here and describe what that's like. You've got to be on the coalface and be in that situation. For that ball to just be rolled and you're just coming from 3-4 yards away and he's hitting that at 80, 90 miles an hour and his head position did not flinch and he's spread as big as he can.
Outfield players wouldn't do that.
Outfield players would never.
They ain't got the bottle to do
I'm telling you
that.
now, I'm not doing that.
No,
No, I'm not doing that. No,
they don't. Honestly, only a goalkeeper would do it. There's only a very few centre backs would do it. A Craig Dawson might do it.
Yeah, John Terry loves
exactly.
it.
John Terry would love it, right? But goalies, they're the only ones that would take that, where you are opening yourself up and you know it might hit you in the balls, it might hit you in the face, in the gut, whatever it is, right? It could win the life out of you. But I'll take it. As long as it don't go in the back of the net, I'll take it.
Those stingers when you were a kid in the park, you know, when it was 0 degrees, it gets on your thigh.
Mate, there's nothing
The
better
goalies
than,
love all that.
Mate, if you walk off with a Nike tattoo on your chest from the ball in print, that is job well done today. Thank you very much, kid. Man United, they won, lads, and they won convincingly as well. They absolutely popped Everton.
Everton made it easy for them, Ben.
Before we talk about Man United then, lads, I'm a little bit worried about Everton. A little bit worried because there's been a few grumbles in the media from fans. They're not happy with the way that they're playing, obviously going into the new stadium soon. But it almost seems like it's becoming near the end for Sean Dyche, Benty. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I know what you're saying. We're going into the new stadium next season. Do you really want to go into a brand new stadium if they survive, which I think they will this season, playing that brand of football, all the excitement? Probably not. They talk about the takeover as well. Apparently the owner's coming in and not happy with him either. Yeah. But I think you look at their squad and the players they've got, they should be playing better football than they're playing. Yeah. I mean, they've got people like Jared Brentford, who everyone raves about, Ashley Young, Dwight McNeil. They've got players in that squad that can, Jack Harrison, good players. But for whatever reason, they still play this long,
big
direct
sloppy
balls.
mistakes at the weekend. A couple from the defenders, Brantwaite and Tarkowski as well. Just basic errors that are, if you're away at Man United, you're going to get punished, aren't you?
Yeah, look, I think in the end, Amorim would have wanted to get over the line in his first Premier League game at home and playing Everton the way it suited them. Yeah. They've gone full press, full gas, and Everton just didn't get out of first gear and allowed the press to come, couldn't beat it, and Man United won really comfortably. But we touched on it last week with Everton, the 0-0 draw against Brentford, 10 men, with the fixtures that they've got coming up. It really bites you in the balls when you don't get over the line last week.
Yeah, saying that though, Watto, like, we all know Sean Dyche, he's proven in what he does, right? Going into a new stadium, do you really want that risk of new manager? Because there's one thing going into a new stadium and playing a brand of football, and there's another thing going into a new stadium in the Championship.
Yeah, well, we'll come on to it probably next game when we talk about West Ham and what they'd always wanted, fed up with David Moyes, fed up with this, fed up with that. And there is a real risk with Everton that you can go for the sexy brand of football and it can come crashing down on you, because to play a sexy brand of football, it might need 2-3 windows of proper recruitment to get players who you believe can play that brand of football. So it's all right getting a sexy manager, but can the players you've got adapt to that culture change from a Dyche to whoever and play sexy football? But at the minute, they're playing a brand of football that is going to be effective and it will keep them in the league this year. So I would really fear if they went in the summer and said, Dyche, thanks very much, you've had your time, but we're going to change, because the new manager wouldn't have the players available to him.
Do you know that? But I think they'd rather do that. I think the Everton owners would rather give Dyche this season, make sure that he kept them up, stayed up, and then even if they go next season with a sexy manager, and of course I don't want to go down, but I think they'd rather watch it in the stadium and go, okay, well, this is what we're trying to do. But they'd never do it.
As a new stadium would be befitting and trying to play.
Exactly.
Well, you mentioned it last week, and it took me a few days to get it out of my mind. I think what you said about Russell Martin and Southampton were bob on, so he's probably having his dress rehearsal for that job then.
And what about United, Ben? So pre-game, if you could have said, right, Rashford and Xerxes are going to get a couple each. In terms of what players need, you'd go, yeah, we'll take that all day.
Yeah, you take it all day. It was, I like Xerxes' performance was really, really nice, really involved in everything, looked a lot more mobile than I've seen him before as well. Looked like he was enjoying himself nice and free, a bit more space. Again, I think massively helped by Everton, to be fair, just stood off them all game long. But whether this is the start of something or not, I don't know. I don't know whether Xerxes is going to be the answer long term or not, but it's nice to see Rashford scoring a few goals. I still just want to see that little smile when he scores, though, yeah? I like the celebration, right? But it's that monotone face of like, I want to see a smile.
Did he smile when he were in New York last week, though?
He definitely smiled in New York.
Right, okay.
He looked a million in New York.
Let's talk about this. Because when I saw Rashford walking out to the car, I wasn't sure if he was an NBA player, or a rapper or a footballer, but there was a fairly big entourage there. And I'm thinking, are these New Yorkers going to really know who Marcus Rashford is?
Benty, right? If somebody like Marcus Rashford's going out in New York, right? If he just goes with one mate, for example, yeah? You got a hood on and you go for a meal or stuff like that, nobody's noticing you, are you?
Not in New York. You wouldn't have thought so, especially with the superstars they have over here.
Exactly.
It was quite bizarre.
So where does all this circus come from then? Is he letting people know that he's going to get paparazzi and people taking photos?
Maybe he's trying to grow his profile over there, for all we know.
That'd be painful. Can you imagine doing that, Woe?
Mate,
Can you imagine
honestly,
doing that?
I phoned 10 guys to tell them I was coming to Leamington today, but they still didn't want to follow me down
Why
there.
were you laughing then, Benty? Were you imagining Watto in furs like me?
No. Just one of them where it is, when you look at the whole scenario, it is a little bit bizarre. I remember watching Marcus on a podcast on the Bronze, the shop show. So maybe he's trying to grow his profile for maybe after football, but I still think it was just quite bizarre, the whole entourage shepherding him as quick as they can into the back of the...
It looks hard work, that.
Yeah, it did,
I just want to go for some food, I want to get in the car, I want to do my belt buckle down again and go, that was lovely, that was, wasn't it? I can't wait for bed, mate.
What about Diallo? Mate, Benty, looked lively, didn't he?
Yeah, that right wing-back slot as well, which is not natural. But he's one of those, I look like he's embraced it.
Yeah.
He's almost gone, do you know what, I want to be in this team, however I'm going to be in there, and I'm not going to sulk, I'm just going to get on with it.
Yeah.
And since Amorim's come in, you'd have to say he's probably been their best player. Most effective, energy levels, creativity, really getting after defenders. And I'm a big fan of Diallo, watched him a lot at Sunderland, and now it's his time. Do I think long-term right wing-back his position? No. But while he's got it, why not hang on to it?
Again, we talk about players, right? I love a player that just does his job, right? Goes about it professionally, honestly, has a smile on his face when they scores, gets involved. You can tell he's a team player. That's the sort of player I want on my team, because I know I'm going to get a 7 out of 10 from him every single Saturday. He'll give you everything he's got. His engine is phenomenal. Work rate, top speed, everything. I love it, I do. I'm really happy for him as well, to be fair, because at the start of the season I thought, I don't think you're going to play much this season, mate. I really don't. I don't think you're quite at that level, but he's stepped up, to be fair to him.
I mean, like, first home game, 4-0, job done.
Job done, boom.
Manager struggling. Lopetegui.
Yeah.
Feels fuzzy. Feels like he's a bit of a dead man walking.
Right. When you're at home, especially on that 5:30 kick-off and you know it's going to be on Sky, you cannot concede 5 goals in the first half, right? You can't. You really, really can't. It's as simple as that, yeah. 4-0 down. It was reminiscent of a few years ago, I don't know if you guys remember it, where they had the helicopter above and Arsenal were 4-0 up and all the fans were leaving the stadium, and it reminded me of that. They got back into it with a couple goals. Free kick was absolutely fantastic, but it's not a good look, mate. It really, really is not a good look. I don't know where West Ham are going to go from here, because you could sense from the crowd that they've had enough now. They have definitely had enough. What they wanted to do, this whole experiment, trying to get away from being West Ham and playing this nice football, it's not working.
I'll tell you what I've had enough of, Ben. I'll tell you what I've had enough of. Commentators absolutely waxing lyrical about Arsenal's set-piece routines. Now, am I missing something, Watto, where they've just whipped an in-swinger in and...
got across the front, man.
And he's just got... And that's it, isn't it?
Well, it's a good ball in, and we spoke off like, if you're marking Gabriel, that's a tough job.
Who was it, Antonio?
Antonio was marking him. I mean, you as a centre-forward wouldn't want to be marking him, would you? Any way, shape or form. And I think from me doing my job previously, you have a set-up with the zones and bits and pieces, especially if you zone like West Ham. But at some point you might have to say, look, I'm going to take my best header out here, because really, if I put my centre-forward here and change a little bit, but I put my best defender on him, we might have a slightly better chance. But there's nothing more than a good ball in for sure and a guy's desire to go and head it. And that's what...
how would you defend against that then, Benty? What should West Ham have done?
I agree with what I was saying. That I'd have definitely put your best centre-half on him. I think trying to get... I mean, I never liked zonal marking anyway, and I don't like it because I just feel like you can pass responsibility by going, it's in this kind of grey area. It's not my area. Whereas if you're man-to-man, you know exactly who it is. And I think Antonio... Like, I've been a centre-forward that's had to mark a defender, and you almost think, you know what, I don't really want to go with him here, but I just hope the ball's not good enough, and then someone else clears it and I can get away with it. But knowing how good Arsenal are, they should have had a look at that and gone, do you know what, no, for today we're not going to go zonal. Even if you get 2 in a zone and then everyone's man-to-man, and even if you double up on Gabriel, because he's the biggest threat, there's so many different ways you could have defended it, but as easy as it was, Gabriel probably couldn't believe his luck. He got a free header from 6 yards out.
Everything. Uncontested.
Exactly.
Do you know what Tony Pulis used to do, lads? He used to do the corners, set pieces, all that kind of stuff, right? And he'd go man-for-man marking, and he'd go, right, that's your man. If he scores, you're getting fined.
Yeah.
And he would fine you. £1,000. Boom, done. You're getting fined £1,000. Don't let your man score. Simple as that. And he'd say it before we went out, do not let your man score. And that was it. It was a personal battle.
Who got the most fines?
I know, yeah. Players were getting fined, but you don't want it. It's in the back of your head. Like, the money's irrelevant. It's that challenge. It's me against my man, and I'm going to come out on top.
And all your teammates know that's your fault.
Yeah.
And that's why I like man-to-man marking, because with that zonal as well, people are going, well, it's not my area, it's your area. But if my man scores, you're not looking at me again. Well, that's your fault.
You let us down today.
Exactly.
Yeah, you let us down today, yeah.
Right, let me ask you this. Having played for Spurs, Ipswich, your club, you're an Arsenal fan, right? Mm-hmm. How much of an Arsenal fan are you?
Oh, huge, yeah.
As a like an ex-player?
Yeah, season ticket holder, all sorts, yeah.
Okay, so tell me about Odegaard in that team.
Yeah, he's incredible. I mean, I know people have gone, yeah, but it's what you've got big squads for, but you've seen it with Rodri at Manchester City. Odegaard, when he's not playing for Arsenal, they just missed that spark, that connection, because he's left-footed, but he almost drifts to that right-hand side with Saka. The connection between, if it's Ben White or Timber, Saka and Odegaard is huge for the dynamics in the team. He will try things that other players won't try. His first thought's always forward. Now, when you've got, say, Rice, Trossard to a point, Partey, they're good footballers, but they're quite safe, sideways or backwards, don't want to lose possession. Odegaard will try that little clippy one 9 times.
How does he get so much time on the ball, Benty? Where does it come from? Because if I'm playing against Arsenal and Odegaard, right, I'm saying, do not let him get his head up. Yeah, because the second he gets his head up and he's got time on that ball, he's going to exploit you. He will. It's as simple as that. So how does he keep finding as much space as he got?
It's never straight. It's never vertical. It's never straight lines. If you watch him when he comes off like the angle, it's always dropping him behind their 8, or he'll come from the other side. He never will just come straight.
Is that playing on shoulders of people, playing on the blind side?
100%. He always comes from the side as well. Never just go straight. Like if he's getting a pass, he'll never just go straight on because he's easy to mark.
Yeah.
He's always just coming off the side, and then all of a sudden, the 2 holding midfield players are like, well, who's got him? Who's got him? He's so intelligent, but it's also timing.
This is why my big worry for West Ham is, right? So the Kai Havertz goal is Odegaard gets the ball, he's got time, he's got his head up, and as soon as he's got his head up, I'm thinking, alarm bells. If I'm a West Ham defender here, right, right, I'm thinking retreat, drop, get back as quickly as you can because he's going to try and do something over the top. And he plays a decent ball over the top.
Oh, it's better than decent.
It's a good ball.
It's better than decent.
It's a world-class ball. It's a world-class ball, but when you've got time on it, yeah, and he hasn't got to do it because somebody's going to come in and smash him imminently, right? I expect him to do that. I've expected to
drop.
But for West Ham not to recognise it, that's my big problem there. It's for West Ham not to recognise it. You as a defensive coach, you'll be going, lads, like, get back, seriously.
I mean, to be playing at home, you're already 3-0 down, and not do something different and let him run versus 3/4 of a half.
Bonkers.
It's crazy. But I agree with Bent. I mean, he's a phenomenal player. We talk about players actually playing in that number 10 or central midfield positions, scanning because they want the ball and be able to play. But when you're playing against him, you're scanning probably twice as much just to see where he is. Yeah. He's that good. And I think whoever you are at West Ham or whoever he's playing against, I think it's a real tough ask because he is clever. But the timing of their interactions to get him on the ball and find out, they know where he's going to be pulling and things like that. So they've done a lot of work on the training field. And look, I thought Arsenal were pretty incredible, but West Ham, there's a real fear there.
Right, again, the alarm bells were ringing for me early doors, right? So the very first goal, Trossard, second goal, I think it is, Trossard goal, isn't it, right? There's 3 Arsenal players there waiting for it. When that ball is cut back, Saka cuts it back. There's 3 Arsenal players there behind West Ham's back line. And I'm thinking, that's not even possible. That cannot even be a thing. It can't be that far off.
Like, Arteta were really fuming when he let him, when West Ham got back to 4-2, because at 4-0, honestly, that could have been
silly.
That'd have been the end for Lopetegui straight away. And they got a little bit slack with it. And like you said, the free kick was phenomenal. What did you think to the penalty situation in terms of giving Odegaard the first one?
See, I'm looking numbers, I'm looking stats, I'm thinking, well, do you know what? I'm taking the pens. Do you know what I mean? But so it was a bit bizarre, and it's fair. That's always been an Arsenal thing, though, because I remember even way back when they were obviously winning league titles, there was a little bit of that going on with Henry, and Perez would take one, and Bergkamp, and it was almost like even if someone was on 2, they would, or if they got fouled, even if they were on 2, they wouldn't take that penalty, which was quite bizarre. Someone else would take it, but in the end, it proves the right decision. But I always like to know that that's the guy, that's the penalty taker. So regardless of what happens, so there's no kind of friction, he'll always take it.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks great when they both go, when the penalty gets scored, right? But if one of them misses it, there's going to be questions asked. There'll be questions asked. And as a striker, surely you just want goals.
Oh, what numbers?
Stat pad it up.
Exactly.
Stat pad it
Salah
right up.
has missed. When he missed one, was it last week?
Midweek,
And he's like, I'm not taking it. I'm taking this next one.
Yeah, back on. And was it a penalty from Fabianski?
Yeah, I mean...
Did he punch his head off?
He punched his head off. I think
Prime Kawasaki was there.
I think you were a little bit pissed with what had happened in front of him, and actually it finished the game, because if at 4-2 it might have been slightly different for the managers for the chat. But yeah, I think you were a little bit pissed about what had happened.
The modern game that we live in now, you can't just come and clear everything out, see? That is a prime example. You can't just come and clear everything out. He hasn't come and cleared him out,
man. He's come and punched him in the face.
He's cleared him out, though, hasn't he? He's cleared him out.
He wanted him to come off at half-time and make sure the set-piece situation second half wasn't quite as tough.
Massive paws as well, Fabianski. He wears those Adidas like finger savers.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a hard one.
That massive glove. I'd be sore in the morning.
Anyway. You were at the Golden Palace on Saturday, weren't you, Benty?
Yeah, was
that the Chinese in Wolverhampton?
You're not welcome in Wolverhampton.
Yeah, I'm not. No. What do you make of the game, Benty? 4-2. Premier League record, by the way. History was made. 3 penalties scored by the same player in a single game.
And 3 penalties won by the
same player.
Yeah. Do you know what? I expected so much more from Wolves. Coming off the back of the 2 results, the Fulham result last week, and I was like, do you know what? I'm looking forward to this. Bournemouth had lost their last 2 games. I thought, Wolves getting their stride, but they never gave themselves a chance.
Yeah.
Didn't get out of the traps quick enough. I thought Bournemouth from the start, very first minute, I thought were fantastic. But Wolves causing their own problems. We spoke about playing out from the back with Southampton and causing them problems, but Wolves just every single time. And even when they got themselves back into it, they do something else daft.
You've got no chance, have you? If you keep shooting yourself in the foot like that, no matter how well you're playing, the confidence just gets eroded. Because the penalties getting given away for such silly things as well, aren't they?
I thought it were just crazy, because I actually probably thought that were the result of the week, if you're honest, because Wolves had been on such a decent run. Yeah. All that credit that Gary O'Neill and the team had got has just evaporated. A, with the result, but B, with the manner of the result very quickly. And look, I don't think we ever give Bournemouth enough respect for how they play, the manager in terms of how he set them up, and actually the quality of players they've got in there. But they pressed from the front very early on, set the tone, and Wolves weren't good enough. yeah, look, we know there were really crazy schoolboy errors, but Bournemouth just went after them from minute one, and they weren't good enough to play out and break the lines.
They just ran all over.
They ran
all over us.
Yeah.
Completely all over us. And what worried me, Benty, was the body language of some of the players, because like you said, they've got, like Watto said, they've got credit in the bank from the last 4 games.
Yeah.
But it was the game when people were with O'Neill when they got popped by Brentford, and then this week I looked at it and thought, one, it looked like an absolute shambles, but Sarr, Lamina, Aït-Nouri, some of the hanging heads, arms flailing around. I didn't like it.
No, it weren't good to watch. I mean, Aït-Nouri, every single time he's got the ball, and he's a talented footballer, but he'd take too long to pass it at times. He'd walk about, he'd throw his arms about. Like, teammates are looking at him to pass and he'd just turn his back on them. And it almost felt like, from the minute one, Wolves turn up thinking, well, we've won the last 2 games, brilliant at Fulham, we'll run all over Bournemouth. And it just didn't happen that way. And I know Bournemouth, we'll talk about them in a bit, but I just felt Bournemouth ran all over.
What were the crowd like? What were the Wolves fans like afterwards?
I mean, it was pretty empty towards the end, but I mean, it weren't a good look. And Jose Sarr obviously jumping into the crowd.
Yeah.
What was quite good was that it almost showed me, okay, well, maybe they are still with the players, because when Jose Sarr jumped into the crowd, like, they got whoever was giving him stick, because it was about 20 minutes into the game, Jose Sarr kept turning around and pointing at the crowd, the individual, whoever it was. And it almost felt like when they got him out of there, the fans started applauding Jose Sarr as if to say, like well done.
Yeah.
So that showed me that maybe they're still with the players, but I just think if you're a Wolves fan at the minute, you just don't know what you're going to get from one week to the next, because they've got players that I think they've got players in their squad that could play for a Champions League side, like Cunha, people like that. Yeah. But the consistency throughout this Wolves team from back to front is just not, it's alarming.
And what's Evan Nielsen like for Bournemouth? Is he a workhorse rat?
Yeah, rat. Which is quite funny, the terminology to use, but just gets after people, doesn't give you a minute's peace, strong, really intelligent, and just scores goals. He's the perfect replacement for me for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Dominic Solanke that went last season.
He's got that little Brazilian sort of nastiness about him.
Just,
like,
horrible.
Never give up. Just keep working. Just keep ratting. Run your socks off, and he's got a bit of quality to mix as well.
Fozzie, what about Kirkez? By the way, we've got to give him, because he got a goal. But you think, one, you say he's got a lucky likey, and secondly, mate, he's an absolute athlete, isn't he?
He's phenomenal, mate. He's a specimen, absolute specimen. There's a guy I watch on Instagram, but he's Welsh, right? And he lives in, we'll put a picture on, he lives in, I don't know, some mad like moors and stuff like that. And he always starts,
in the valleys,
boys, yes, boys. And he's like, does gym, and all he does is eat skyr, yogurt, and just like meat and stuff like that. Absolute shredded.
Got a big beard, him.
No, he's not. I'll show you a picture of him and you'll go, yeah, fair dues actually, yeah. He's funny, he's dead funny. But yeah, fair play. Kirkez, yeah, what a player, mate. What a player. I love Bournemouth. I do. I love Bournemouth. I get the feeling that Bournemouth, right, whenever they play a game on a Saturday afternoon, I don't care if it's Man City or it's Wolves, they will approach it in the same way, and they can beat anybody in the day. Bournemouth can. I really do.
And do you know what? They beat Wolves without their best player, Semenyo.
Yeah.
Because he is serious player. Wow.
Yeah, special.
And Kluivert's hat-trick of pens, I mean, to be fair, he's slotted them all.
Is that easy to do, Benty? Is that easy thing to do?
It's funny you come to that, because I've missed 2 and scored 1 and took 3.
So you taking 3 pens in the game?
It was 3 in the game against Spurs, 4 Sunderland against Spurs, scored the first one, missed the next 2.
Hold on. Did you miss them or did the goalie save them?
He saved them.
Oh, so the goalie saved them.
Missed the target.
It wasn't a miss, yeah? It wasn't a miss. The goalie saved it, basically. Yeah.
Still a miss now?
There's a big difference.
Okay, I scored 1 and the goalkeeper saved 2.
Aurelio Gomez, shout out, my boy. I love you, mate. Goalie saved them, he did.
But it was one of those where, and what he done really well, Kluivert, is that he did the first one where he kind of slowed himself down and just rolled it into the other corner. Then he changed it up for the second penalty where he went a little bit quicker, just wrapped it, and then went back to the original technique where he slowed himself down again. And fair play to him, because that's hard to do.
I like the third one because Jose Sarr at this point, his mind is boggled. And he kind of waits and he goes, but he's still just not quick enough to get there. And he's just thinking, I've just been had today. I've just been had. I'll give 2 penalties away and I've had 3 of them score past me and I've had one today. It's one of them days.
So Bournemouth, 13th in the league, a little bit misleading, Watto, because there's actually 7 points from 13th to 2nd.
Yeah, what I see in that team, they are more than capable of getting in that top 10 this season. More than capable.
That'd be a fantastic season.
And I actually don't think a lot of teams would want to face them. We make the point earlier. I think he prepares his team for whoever the opposition are, but they are workaholics in that team.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
With some good tactical nous and quality players within it. And I think they probably will be the surprise package because I think they're top 10 material.
Tactical nous, Fozzie.
Yep.
Thomas Frank.
Yes.
Is it a case of when? Because he's been there, I think, 6 years now.
6 years now, yeah.
Is it just a case of when, or are we being disrespectful to Brentford, because there's a ceiling with Brentford, isn't there?
This is a really big question, actually, and I reckon all of us can chip in on this one if you don't mind, lads. Would Thomas Frank get a job at a top 4, 5, 6 team? Would he get a job at a Arsenal? Would he get a job at Chelsea? Would he? If it came up, would he get that job, lads?
I don't know. I don't think he would. Not if you're talking Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Chelsea, probably not. No, I don't know why, because he's done a phenomenal job at Brentford.
Yeah.
Like, I like the way he speaks. He's always happy. I don't know if a personality issue. Maybe he's not out there as much as other managers. Maybe he doesn't get he's not maybe got the profile.
Yeah.
But I certainly think there are clubs out there at that top end of the Premier League where he could do a really.
So
good
maybe
job.
not top 5 or 6 then, lads. What level are we talking here? Your Villas, your Tottenhams, them sort of
So
teams,
there's a step.
yeah?
There's another step.
But
in
why
it.
though? But why? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm obviously listening to the answers and computing my brain at the same time because I think tactically he's as good as any of them.
As good as anybody,
for sure. So basically what we're saying is he's got the ability tactically to deal with that level of player in the team because he's proven it in 6 years at Brentford. But maybe he's not got the personality, and I don't know him personally because I think he actually does very, very well in the media. But I think to manage the real big teams, you have to have something where you can cope with it and deal with it. And he's probably slightly easier playing at Brentford, 15,000, 20,000, less pressure. And maybe he might not be ready for that. But I actually think he's got all the tools to do it. It would just be down to that personal.
I think he could do it. I would think he would be a safe bet for anyone. Genuinely for anyone.
Well, if Maresca's in at Chelsea, Maresca's in at Chelsea, you're almost kind of going, well, because he wasn't a Guardiola disciple, he's not worthy. But you've got to look at when Arteta got the job at Arsenal. Was he the guy for Arsenal?
Exactly. I don't think we can judge it until he gets that opportunity.
But then look at Potter, because Potter's this prime example of that, where he didn't have the big personality. But Chelsea went, do you know what? We'll try it.
Go.
And it
didn't work.
I mean, I won't say it didn't work, but they were a bit of a mad case. But he didn't last long, did he? So and I almost feel Thomas Frank is a good coach like Graham Potter. But for whatever reason, top clubs are just a bit like,
yeah, I know.
Really?
It's a strange one. But that Brentford team, lads.
Shada hat-trick.
First
Brentford player to score a Premier League hat-trick since Ivan Toney.
Very good.
How many's Ivan Toney got this season, Ben?
49 now.
In
7 games. Out in Saudi, absolutely. But this was a game of counter-attacks, lads. And for me, Leicester have to be a bit better. They have to be a bit smarter because every goal comes, and I'm watching it, and Leicester, 2 midfield players are full pelt running backwards towards their goal because they've just been done on a counter-attack. And Brentford, when they get in those opportunities, they're absolutely ruthless. Absolutely ruthless. It's good to see it is. I love it. But yeah, Leicester need to be smarter, lads, because every goal that was scored is from a counter-attack. So I see their 2 central midfielders just turning and absolutely shelling it, full pelt back. They've been caught. Brentford, absolutely brutal, ruthless, cut it back, goal. Simple as that. So Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to have his work cut out, lads, because he cannot be conceding goals like this. For Leicester to stay up, they've got to be cleverer, much smarter than that.
Yeah, but I'm a little bit perturbed, not by Leicester making a change, that's their choice, but I'm a bit like England. Why did Tuchel not take the games in November when you're there? Why is he not involved? That's a massive game. Yeah. If he could have got an extra 5-10%, whatever the margins, to try and get Leicester back on the board, I don't understand why he's watching from the... He could have travelled with the team. He could have watched that match day -1 training. Just be somewhere around it. They've got a home game, I think it's West Ham in the week, and all of a sudden there's massive pressure on a new manager coming in, and obviously we've just alluded to Lopetegui, but like have some bearing on it. Just try and put something in it. But yeah, Leicester were very, very...
When was it agreed for Van Nistelrooy to... Was it like Wednesday or something like that? Wednesday, Thursday, right? So we had... When I was at West Brom, right, Tony Pulis became manager. Yeah, another Tony Pulis story for you, lads. We had an interim manager of Keith Downing and Dean Kiley, right? We were playing at West Ham away, okay? On the Friday, it was announced that Tony Pulis was going to be manager, right? It was like Friday late afternoon. He didn't have a chance to work with the team. So he was just like, right, let you two take the game. Cool. He was going to be at the stadium. He was going to be watching from the stands, right? At half-time, he came down into the changing room. Really? Keith started talking. Honestly, Tony Pulis just walked in and went, move out of the way. I'm doing this, all right? And just absolutely gave us it. Went for us. Bollocked us, gave us all a good go. We ended up drawing the game like 0-0.
That was his introduction to the team.
But that was his introduction into the team. It was so good. But everybody knew straight away that he was the boss, and that was it. So everybody was listening to him and went, yep, okay, cool.
But that's what I'm trying to allude to. You have to have some influence somewhere. Yeah. I would have found it so hard, never been a manager, in truth, but if I were watching that game and the concede at 45 plus 8 to go 3-1, I'm thinking, I'm not sat here with a chairman or whoever I'm sat with. I'm getting in there and I'm going to try and have an influence and just look and set your stall out so that Sunday morning when I'm actually facing you and we're preparing for West Ham, you already know what the situation is.
Do you think it's because they were at Brentford away? They know it's a tough game. They know it's almost... Brentford have got the best home record in the Premier League. Have they dropped, 1 or 2 points all season long?
I'm not sure.
I think they've
only got 1 point away from home.
Exactly. They've won virtually all their points.
Away from home?
They've won virtually all their points.
They've had one draw. The rest
so they know it's going to be a difficult game. So do you think their Leicester or Van Nistelrooy might have gone, let's just get this one out of the way first and then you can...
Do you know what, the only thing about it, okay, I understand that it's Brentford, but it's not City.
No.
Or Liverpool, it's Brentford.
This is the Premier League.
I know, you're never going to have a walkout. You're never having a doddle, are you?
They need Wolves at home, that's what
Do you know what I mean? So no, if they're going into the game with that mindset, I mean, that's a problem in itself.
Yeah,
because
it is, yeah.
Brentford are not, yes, they've got an unbelievable start. I love watching them play, and they've been formidable at home. But they're not like one of the big boys of the Premier League. So surely you've got to look at that fixture and go, well, if we turn up...
Yeah, we got a chance here.
Ipswich gave them problems, Brentford.
Yeah, well, that's
we're 2-0 up.
That's what surprised me when he got announced, because he's in his back garden with a bloody Ipswich shirt. And I'm thinking, the Leicester shirt, get over there.
Yeah,
have an influence on the team. Yeah. Set your stall out. But look, a fantastic result for Brentford. And I think it's a real shocker for Leicester, because that has to be a game, irrespective of how well they've done Brentford, that you think you can go and do a little bit better.
Mads Hermansen saved, you say it?
Oh my God. Lovely, and that's at 0-0. I'm thinking, well, this could have been the start.
How good was that save, Otto?
Look at this, right? Before he said, Benty's looking at us like, you lot are sick, you lot. He's like, all he wants to do is talk about goals that got it. And we're talking about saves like it's the best thing in the world. Like,
he's had so many adjustments before he even makes the save to drop off, back adjust, spring, drive, turn his hand. It's a phenomenal save.
Because he was a few yards off his line. Yeah. But to backwards, get it over the bar.
Out as well.
Well, how's he done that then?
Flicky wrist.
Is that fingertips?
It's that whole bit of that top of your hand there, and you have to really sort of flick the wrist as well. And so you don't want too much of a firm contact on it. You want to flick it away at it and almost put like top spin on it, yeah?
Top spin?
Honestly. Isn't it? It is. It's like that, when you're reaching, you've got to top spin it over like that, so it starts...
So in your head, you're going, I need to top spin it over.
I promise you, it's exactly like Prime Roger. I promise you. It's the same techers as well, I swear.
Foscast favourite, Mads Hermansen.
What a save.
It's an unbelievable save, and to make saves like that and still get beat 4 is tough for a goalie.
What about Spurs doing Spurs things again?
Yeah.
Obviously, they didn't lose, but we were looking at the results, and they've gone win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. It's just... They just can't seem to get any momentum, can they, Bent?
And that's the problem, I think, when you're looking at who could finish in the top 4, and people often say not Spurs, even though they might be a few points away from it. It's a consistency. Because as you said there, they raised their game for Manchester City, and you go, here we go. And then they draw with Roma, which is not a bad result. But then Fulham with 10 men, I know that the red card was a bit later, but you just think, where's the consistency with Spurs? You should be able to go on a 4 or 5 game run where you're beating teams playing that type of football. But I generally think the way Ange plays, you'll just get results like that. You'll get results where they look incredible, but you'll also get results where they just average.
Has the players got to be a little bit more culpable though, Benty? Because if they can get up for a Man City game, right? And I watched the Man City game, and the work rate and the intensity and the pressure that they put Man City under was phenomenal from the get-go, right? And then I watched this game against Fulham, and I'm thinking it's just not the same. It just isn't the same. That's got to be an individual player thing, hasn't it? Surely.
Do you know what it has been? But also as well, I think because they play the same way, Spurs, I do think a side like Fulham, like tactically, we'll just go, do you know what? This is what they do really well. So you're going to get results where other teams will just not so much park the bus, but will just plug holes and just sit and chill. And that it maybe looks like Spurs players are like, well, Why can't they get up for the Man City games? But you've got to think the mindset of Man City are probably like, we're going to go and beat Spurs.
Yeah.
Fulham
Two teams just attacking.
Yeah, and Spurs, which plays into Spurs' hands. And Fulham are going, we're not going to do that. We'll just sit in and just wait and make it difficult. So it can look a little bit disjointed.
Yeah. That's why you've got to approach every game differently because of your opposition.
100%.
Gone are the days now in football where you just go, no, we play a style of football and that's it, and we stick to it. You can't do that anymore.
No, I think Silva's a real good manager, and I saw him play at Villa last year, and Villa obviously want to build up using Martinez and whatever, and he did exactly the same. He said, you can have it there, I'm going to sit on the halfway line, and if you don't want to do anything, don't do anything. And then all of a sudden you get into their minds and a mindset, and they had the bigger chance in the game. Obviously losing Vicario last week would have been a big loss, but Big Fraser came in goal. We know him
couple
pretty
really
well.
Good saves, didn't he?
Played really well, but Fulham had the chances in that game, and I just think the fans' reaction at the end, even though like you said, Kearney had 10 minutes towards the end, I mean, it was a shocking tackle, but the boo at the end of the game, and I just feel as though they've got the right to be top four all the time, or even better, but it doesn't happen that way for Spurs, and certainly in the league.
Talk about the red card, Bentley, quickly. It was a red card, right? Awful challenge. Tell me about that challenge, because I saw a few comments on, I think it was Instagram at the weekend, saying he hasn't really done too much there. It's not really a red, and I'm thinking that's naughty. That.
I mean, he's top of the calf, raked his foot down.
Yeah.
I mean, that could have been a serious one, and that's one of them where you've been chasing shadows. It's lazy, isn't it? You just think,
exactly
you know what
it is. Yeah.
He probably didn't mean to. In his thought process, he probably didn't think, right, I'm going to stamp on his calf and rake it. He's just gone, do you know what? He's getting away from me. Let me just tactical foul. It's a tactical one.
Yeah.
But he just got it completely wrong, and it's awful.
Once you bring your studs up like that, you just can't do it. Fraser, Big Fraser in goal quickly. The second save, you've made a fantastic save early doors from Raul.
Benty's rolling his eye. About to go cube. Did you play with Fraser?
No, I missed Fraser. Yeah, I've missed him.
Great lad, Fraser. Honestly, brilliant lad. First save was great from Raul, but the second one from Iwobi, right? Commentators didn't say a dicky bird about it because they didn't see the touch. They didn't see that he made the save.
Did he make a touch?
Yes, he got a tiny little
top hand.
Watch it back.
Sure he did.
Fraser, I saw you, mate. I saw you. Send me a little text message and just say, give me a thumbs up if you did touch it, because I guarantee he did. He did touch it.
Yeah, he looked like it.
Thank
to
you.
me, a little top hand
just saw the ball, like there's a spin on the ball, and then when he touches it, the spin changes.
Yeah, but
that's
that's one of those, right, where a wide player will cross one in, and you know when it just bounces into the far corner, and I've gone, no, I've got Sabic on it, and it's one of those, isn't it? I felt it.
You might have not got 100 goals if you want to claim 10 of them.
Do you know what I mean? So he's going to say, yeah, I've got my nails on that, or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean?
You're onto a loser here, because this is, including me, this is the Fraser Forster fan club.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But this is like, quickly talking about Spurs, we're going to move on in a minute, talk about Brighton Southampton, because there's crazy offside decision at the end of that game as well. But for Spurs fans, I don't really know what they want then, because I don't know which is better, right? Do you want to be a Spurs team that can go and beat Man City 4-0, yeah? But then you might draw your next game against Fulham.
Or get beat.
Or do you want to, and get beat by Ipswich. Or do you want to be the team that you might not beat your Man City, you might not ever beat Man City, but you'll probably beat Fulham, yeah? And you'll probably beat Ipswich. Like, I don't know which is the best one to do. I know people just want more consistency and they want to be able to beat Man City and then go and beat Fulham, but every team wants that.
It must be frustrating. It must be. Like, if you're a Southampton fan, you know what's coming. Ipswich fan, to a degree, you know what's coming. Same with Arsenal, Man City, there's blips. With Spurs, you kind of look at it, you're not betting on them. They're a coupon buster, aren't
What I'm saying is, does the joy and the unbelievable highs of beating Man City outweigh the disappointments against Fulham and Ipswich? Does it? That's all I'm asking.
No, they're too big a club to have that mentality. Well, are they too big a club? I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know which is more preferable as a fan. I really don't know.
Well, Spurs fans have always talked about the football, the football, and obviously Ange plays really exciting football.
Yeah.
But now Spurs fans are like, well, no, we need consistency. But they had a little bit of that with Conte, Mourinho, and they didn't want that.
So I don't know what you want then.
So it is a little bit of...
You can't have everything.
They want to win something.
You can't.
Yeah. They've got to win something.
In Spurs' situation, there are another 7 other teams in the Premier League, that want the same thing as what Spurs fans want. And only one team can have it, Only one team, Liverpool probably, will be the only team that wins the Premier League this season, right? But everybody else wants it as well. It's impossible.
But we spoke last week, if we say City will get back into it, Liverpool and Arsenal, they're your 3, with the 7 or 8 teams fighting for one spot for that Champions League football. And Chelsea look like they're front runners now. So we're the Spurs, they're not winning it.
Also Rans, I think they call that, don't they? Unfortunately.
It's looking unfortunately like that for them, but then there's too much pressure becomes on the domestic cups for them because
They have to win something.
They have to win something at some point. And Big Ange said earlier in the season he wins something in his second season. So we'll wait and see.
That's a big statement, that, isn't it? Should we talk about Friday night game then, lads? Benty, you were there. Amex Stadium, Brighton won, Southampton won.
How much football do you watch?
He works.
A lot.
He works.
He is a hard worker.
I enjoy watching it, though. I do enjoy watching a lot of football.
I must say, I was listening to the show on Friday night, and you were at the Amex with Goldstein, and it was fantastic, mate. The access you guys got, honestly, to some of the players, to Welbeck, to Herzl, the manager, who I thought was fantastic, was top class. So well done, you lot. Before we talk about anything else, the disallowed goal, the Adam Armstrong disallowed goal, Benty, talk to me about it.
I thought it should have stood.
Okay.
I thought it should have stood. I know it looks like he's in an offside position. I don't think him flicking the ball really affected the goalkeeper too much. And also as well, it's a opinion, right? So that's the thing. Referees talk about clear and obvious. That's an opinion of somebody in the VAR room saying that Adam Armstrong has affected the goalkeeper. That's not fact. It's an opinion. Yeah. And so in that fact, I'd go, well, it's not clear and obvious then. And it took, 4.5 minutes?
Yeah. Painful.
For me, it should have stood.
Watto.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm watching the game, and when I first saw it, I'm thinking it's a goal. But when I look at that, and I look at that still image there, and you know from the goalkeeping perspective, at that point, you can't allude to the fact whether the ball's coming in front of Armstrong or behind him. So the goalie's in a position, but he's scanned. You can see him scanning at that point. So Armstrong is affecting him. I have to say 100%. Now, do I think that he could have spun on his ankle, got across the goal and actually saved the shot if he was half a yard slightly different? Probably not. But he has to wait for that ball to pass Armstrong. He has to wait. And in that perspective, it does have a bearing on it. But going back to the point you made about the guy sat there in VAR, I don't think he's got the knowledge to give all that.
But Fozzie, doesn't this just prove how football is not black and white and there's grey matter? Because Benty said one thing, and Watto said the complete opposite.
So before we started the show today, everybody, I said, right, lads, we've got to talk about the offside goal. And Benty was about to say something. I went, no, wait. Save it. I said, I don't want to know yet, all right? I said, save it for the show, right? Because I don't know your opinion. I don't know Watto's. I know mine. I don't know. So let's just wait to the show to say this, right? Because this is the beauty of it. We've got two very different opinions.
Striker, goalkeeper.
Yeah, right. I am somewhere in the middle of you lot, lads, all right? Listen to this.
And where is that?
Yeah. I think it should have been a goal. Right? I think I agree with you completely that the goalie has to wait for that initial contact. He has to wait for it. But I still don't think it's enough. And the fact that some guy is sat there making that opinion, having never played the game, doesn't really understand the absolute detail of it, for him to make that decision should not be in that position.
But Ben,
he shouldn't be in that position.
He said he's not played the game. All three of you have played the game, Premier League, and you've got two different opinions. So it goes to show that, you know, that...
Yeah, but surely our three opinions, because we played the game, have to be more balanced. He's making an opinion on something he only knows 10% of the information of. We are making that opinion on having played the game and been in that situation.
Either way, if he'd have given it or it was disallowed, either way, we'd be having the same conversation.
No, but we need confirmation of why he gave it and why he didn't give it. If he gave the reasoning there and then, I don't want it 2 hours afterwards when he's been briefed by the PGMOL and briefed by this guy and briefed by that guy, I want to know live, by the text, by the audio, live, why he disallowed that goal. Then I can say, yeah, cool, you got that right, But if he would have said the reasons why we've just said, then I can say, yeah, fine. But he didn't, and we're not privy to that information either.
So do we want to see on the broadcast... Do we want to see
live
the box, the audio input?
I want the whole audio live there and then, live time as well. Not 2 hours later, because he's been briefed by that time.
That's one thing with VAR which could add that element of entertainment.
Exactly.
I think we should get to that point because everybody's accountable. Players are so accountable for every facet of their own performance and everything else surrounding the game. And if you would have got a description for that, because ultimately I would have liked the goal to stand because it's wrong to spend 4.5 minutes not allowing it to stand, and we want goals, we want attacking football and all these kind of things. But I do believe, from my point, that it does have a big bearing on the goalie, the first action. But in the way it's transcribed, I think you need to know the answer very, very quickly because they have the answers and they should give them. In rugby, you hear the captains talking to the referee.
I want to know. I want to hear it live.
In rugby league, going straight to whatever. And I think we have to get to that point so it's cleared up very, very quickly.
And Benty, what about... So you had some time with Fabian Hürzeler. 31 years old, this bloke.
Yeah.
How was your experience with him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he likes people keep mentioning that to him, 31, but impressive. I mean, the way he spoke about it and just talking about how the players are bought into what he wants to do. And something he said was really interesting because he's 31 years old. He's obviously the youngest Premier League manager ever, or certainly, I think, permanent manager. He said something really interesting. He was like, the way you get players to buy into what he wants to do, because a lot of players might have thought, well, he's not really got that much experience, is the fact you see it by results. So clearly, whatever he's telling the Brighton players is working, and that's what he uses for his Brighton players and say, well, anyone who questioned it, clearly the message I'm sending, the way we're playing is working, because Brighton could have gone second in the Premier League. So that's your proof that I am good enough, regardless of my age, and that what we are doing is the right things. And I thought it was so simple, but he's 100% spot on because no one at this stage would have said Brighton could be second.
No chance.
And they're absolutely flying. The football that they're playing, but they've got good characters. And he is so impressive. And it wouldn't surprise me in a year, 2 years' time. He's the next one that goes off to another top club. I'm not saying Brighton's not a top club, but they go on to Champions League.
He's the sort of guy that could take over from Pep. Like, genuinely could take over at someone like a Man City or something like that.
But that's interesting if you go from where we were at, we're talking about Thomas Frank. You know what I mean? You've obviously met this guy for the first time Friday night and you're so impressed with him, but yet Frank's been doing that job for 6 years, but already you feel as though this guy's got a little bit more about him. It's interesting, isn't it? You know what I mean? But interesting for me, I had Diblin at Southampton when he was a very young player, and I would have said he was never ever going to go on to this. Obviously, watching him live, what did you...
Yeah, he's incredible. The way he can carry the ball, make things happen, fearless. I think that's the biggest thing. You see a lot of young players get their opportunity and not freeze, but a little bit... He's like, no, absolutely not. Give me the ball. I'm going to make something happen. And again, Southampton, I don't know what's happened recently, but they used to have I feel like a conveyor belt of young talent. Walcott, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Bale, Shaw. But him now, he is top quality.
The reason why you know he's an absolute player is the fact that Southampton let him do that. Yeah. So for Southampton to trust a young player, to give him that much freedom and go, when you get the ball, carry it, do this, do that. That speaks massively of how much they rate him to just let a young lad do that, isn't it?
Yeah, he's playing incredible football and he's the one shining light of that team at the minute. And probably without him, I mean, I know they've not got many points, but they'd certainly have a few less.
A lot of when young players get into teams, especially Premier League as well, it's the manager, the club will say, just keep it simple, don't do anything, don't go dribbling with it too much, just pass, move, keep it simple. But he's so good at what he does, they're just like, no, mate, you just do what you do.
Very Russell Martin, that.
It's lovely.
But I also think there's a lot of managers, especially in the situation where they're at, for a young player, we need to take him out and that. But Southampton, he's the star of the show. They can't take him out because if they take him out, I mean, as I said, they've not got many points, but he's the one that's driving that team forward. And then you go on the polar opposite when Danny Welbeck gets his international break. What does he normally do? Because he's at the other end of the scale.
He's good. He was good. He came on, didn't he, before the show? Even that, the fact that Brighton are willing to let players come on, do media duty before the game, and talk nice and openly and honestly as well. And he had a nice little thing to say about international breaks, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, we said, because his form, really, if you look at his form at the start of the season, I wonder if back of his mind he's thinking, England shout, but he was quite honest and said he prefers his weeks in Dubai.
Yeah, I don't blame you, mate.
No, but he's brilliant, Wells. I mean, you know him really well as well, but for him to be playing as well as he does, you look at his numbers and you might go, throughout his career, and you go, is he? But when you look at how good he is in terms of his link-up play and even him being a role model for the younger players coming through at Brighton, he's a top.
They're blessed in that department, Brighton, with James Milner as well. Just unbelievable people, people first, player second, basically. Unbelievable role models, fantastic around the place. People just want to emulate them. They'll be the first people in, working hard in the gym as well.
It's the football club, like what makes Thomas Frank so impressive is the fact that he's done it with Brentford and they don't have a conveyor belt of managers, whereas Brighton, they have the next one, the next cab off the rank, so to speak, and slot them in. And that's not downplaying what Hürzeler's done, but the whole football club's built on that, of putting round pegs in round holes.
Algorithms and things like that.
Didn't you say square pegs in round holes once?
Yeah, years ago.
I had to think about that one to get it right.
Goldstein just plays it all the time. Square pegs.
You can't say anything around Goldstein, can you, mate?
Right, we've got a couple of games to go. We are cooking. Then we've got the quiz at the end. It's coming up. Crystal Palace, Newcastle. Palace can count themselves very unlucky in this game, you know. Very, very unlucky. Newcastle did not have a shot on target. Still managed to nick a goal from somewhere. But really impressed with Palace. Ismail Assar is really starting to show now exactly why he's been brought back to the Premier League. Mark Gay, even though he scored the own goal, was just involved in everything, lads, wasn't it? But like you said, Benty, though, it's because he was on, what was it?
He's on trial.
but it's like you said, though, Benty,
Job interview.
He's on trial, isn't he?
Of course, yeah. I mean, Newcastle, it was heavily reported they were
Yeah.
after him. I mean, I don't know why they just wouldn't put the extra 10 million.
What did they offer? 70?
70, and I think Palace kept saying we want 80. Then they went 72, 74, 78, and then in the end it just fizzled out. But I'm a big fan of Mark Gahey. I think he's England's best defender now at centre half. I think he's reliable, captain, leader. I think he can play for any of the top sides, any of them. But yeah, I mean, Crystal Palace, just not quite got going yet this season. I know they lost one or two big players, but I still would have expected Crystal Palace, especially after the way they ended last season, to be in a better position this season.
Well, did you see the Munoz miss?
Oh, it's horrible. Wasn't it?
Oh, I think you do better to miss that than...
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he's there, his foot's there. I mean, Sarr's give him an unbelievable ball across. I think his eyes have lit up and he's just thinking, and all of a sudden his ankle turned on contact. And
We've seen some bad... like, Raoul's last week for Fulham was horrific, it was really... But this is almost the easiest one. The easiest one I've seen, because the ball, he's running into it. It's in his stride. He hasn't really got to break anything. He's just got to apply the finish. But his ankle, he just got it on his toe and his ankle turned out.
It's one of those where you're thinking as it's coming across, goal. Before you put it down the bases,
Hey,
put it
Nick
in there.
Pope is diving there. He's thinking, oh, God's sake, here we go. It's a goal. Guarantee you.
But all the crowd this side of the stand, even when he's hit it, they all think it's just gone in the middle of the goal because it's that easy. And they're all jumping because the net wobbles because it's hit the back and then hit the net. And it's like, oh, shit, he's missed.
Yeah. Well, luckily, he got his redemption kind of goal, didn't he? But Newcastle were kind of ticking along, really, aren't they? But Isaac injury, Ben, is a big one, isn't it?
Massive for them. It's rewind it a couple of seasons before. He used to get quite a few of these sort of injuries, didn't he? And this is the bit that sort of stalled him, really. We're seeing the best of him this season because he's had a run in the team and he's been playing every single game. But if you pick up these injuries, it can set you back. It really, really can. So hopefully it's nothing major as well, because I just don't think that Newcastle have got that squad depth either to be able to deal with injuries to key players like this as well, have they, Bentley?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Callum Wilson's back now, but he's another one.
Yeah,
What about Popey? Had a really good game, and then for that goal, Watto, he came back.
Let's defend him.
That's the hard thing, but because he's such a front-footed goalie in terms of dealing with crosses, he's thinking 90 plus 4, I'm going to come and help my team here. Normally, if he could, he'd come and take that cross, relieve all that pressure. And he's got tempted in a little bit because Gay's crosses sucked him in a little bit, but then it's going away from him. So he's come back. So he's had a couple of movements, but it's a phenomenal header down. And when you're as big as he is, unless he can somehow get his foot or his knee on it, it's very hard to get his left hand down. Because of the bounce, it takes your body just a little bit behind you, and it's already past him. I think it would be really harsh to be overcritical, but he'd probably look at it and think, if I wouldn't have got tempted for the cross and I'd have been a little bit more solid, he may well have got it. But I think it was a good cross and a good header, and it would have been a travesty in the game. Palace was so dominant if they wouldn't have got something from it. We all think Palace should be doing a little bit better, but in the end, that might just give them some momentum.
Too many draws, though. Palace, for a team like Palace, they need to start converting these draws into wins. So 13 games, 1 win for Palace so far. Only 1 win, 6 draws, though. You know, those draws can really harm you. They seriously can. You'd rather win 1 or 2 rather than keep drawing to it. Like, you just need to get the win over the line. So, they'll be kicking themselves a little bit. Even though they scored a last-minute goal, they'll be kicking themselves. They didn't take all 3.
Do you think they'll find a bit of form and stay clear? Do you think there's 3 worse teams?
Without doubt, I do. I think now you're starting to see some of the big players. Eze's back firing. You've got Ismail Assar. They've got some good players, Palace, so they'll be absolutely fine. Gay's fine. You know what you're going to get from him anyway. But yeah, they'll be absolutely fine.
And then your lot, bit of a sloppy 1-Benty Ipswich at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they'd build on that brilliant performance against Manchester United where they were the better side, played really well, but just again, basics really, causing their own problems and a little bit naive, you'd have to say. I mean, I still think there's a great opportunity that they survive, but it's getting to the point now where it's not early on in the season now, the games are starting to come and you're starting to look at quite a large sample size, 13 games played and you're thinking, okay, where the win's going to come from. But yeah, again, at times, just too easy to play.
Are Forest just really good at winning these type of games? Do you think Forest, when they're playing against these sort of teams, they turn up and they impose themselves in the game and just go, no, we know how to beat you here. We know, whether it's a 1-0 or a 2, but we will beat you.
Yeah, I think he's done really well with them, Núñez, hasn't he? But I mean, they'd been on the back of a couple of dodgy results themselves, and I think when you're facing one of the promoted teams at home, it does put a little bit more pressure on. But they redouble their efforts in terms of work rate and tactics as how to stop Ipswich. But we talk about the teams that come up promotion, and yes, there's a lovely way and a style of playing. But if you keep inviting the same kind of actions against you, it's going to be difficult. And ultimately, I thought Forest were relatively comfortable. The one moment really Ipswich had, we were talking before the show, he makes a good save, Sells in the goal, and it looks like it's coming out for a tap-in. And Delap, he's so keen as a centre-forward, he wants to get on that action, and he gets in the way of it. But I thought Forest, in the end, were dominant, and obviously Munich makes a couple of incredible saves in one particular action. But in the end, they rely on the old warhorse Chris Wood to get them off the line.
Proper penalty, Bent. How would you take your penalties back in the day? Were you a...
I was a whippet, goalkeeper's right.
Yeah.
So like across my body. That was my favourite,
right,
yeah. I thought I could get more power. I hated the open up one because I thought I can't get enough power with the side foot. But that was a great penalty. I mean, I would have never done that, just blasted it as hard.
Would you not?
Nah, I wasn't that. I needed to put it into that bottom corner. I just felt comfortable putting it in there. But he, Chris Wood, I mean, he's having a season of his life.
Do you know what would be really interesting if he said, like, I used to go goalies right? I would love to see a little stats of how many you would put to your right compared
Pretty much all of them.
Really? Yeah.
There was only, off the top of my head, there was a couple of times, one Gomez saved in that game we spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
And there was one Jaskalainen where, because I'd taken a couple against him before, he went so early that way that I just literally just rolled it. It wasn't even a good penalty, but because he was pretty much there by the time I took it, just rolled it in the corner.
Do you ever, as a penalty taker, watch clips of the goalie you might be taking a penalty against?
Never.
Look which way they dive or anything
Never.
like that?
Never. Because in my head, I'm like, if I hit my penalty, like I know I can hit it, he's not saving it.
It's processing it, I always thought, though, if as a right footer, if you go to the goalie's right and you're just off, because you're going in to out, you know, if you're too far in, it's well within his range just before, you know what I mean?
But see, from my perspective, I always think if I don't set it out like side foot that way, that almost, if I go too straight, it's quite close to my cup. There's no angle for me to generate. I'd rather it go away from the goalkeeper, if that makes sense.
I love it. I think that's something I'm sure goalie coaches do it now anyway, but looking at the percentage of how many over their whole career that striker puts it into the bottom corner right to the bottom corner left.
It's a percentage game ultimately.
Exactly, but by the sounds of Bent, his must be like 90% to 10% or
I'd say 95% to 5%.
Really?
Yeah.
Mad, isn't it?
Okay, and then what about Callum Hudson-Odoi playing really well? He's just turned 24 in November, right? And we've got a bit of a theory with Tommy Tuchel taking over England, haven't we, Benty?
Yeah, I think if he continues this form, he'll probably be back in that squad. I think Thomas Tuchel gave him his debut. I think they were desperate to keep hold of him, weren't they, when he was linked to Bayern Munich as well. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's playing really well. And it's nice to see, by the way, because 24, I feel like he's been around for so long. Yeah. Maybe lost his way a little bit, but to be fair to Nuno, he believes in him, he's playing really well. And yeah, as I said, if he keeps this form up and Forest have a good kind of season, they finish in that top 8, he'll be back in the England squad.
Cooking boys, quiz time. Quickly before we go to quiz though, do you know what they used to say about Darren Bent's penalties? They were like hurricanes. You know they're coming, yeah? But there's just nothing you can do about it. No one said that ever. No one ever said that about
Aurelio Gomez did it.
Quiz time, come on.
Right, everyone, back with the quiz today. Ben, you've got 5 points. Tom, you've got 4 points. Watto, you're on 3. And the guests are on 1.
Who won for the guests?
Not Benty.
Bentosa.
Bentosa, he came back.
Close last week, though.
Sounds like
you
Benty.
came back from the dead, didn't you? Came back from the dead.
You've got 10 questions. We all know the rules.
Yep.
1 answer. If you don't get it, you're out.
Okay.
Yeah, but if I say all back in, you're all back in.
Sweet.
Okay?
Clear,
Question
clear.
1. Not including interim or caretaker managers, who was the manager before Eric Ten Hag?
Mourinho.
Ole.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the correct answer.
Come on. Ollie's at the wheel, boys.
Always at the wheel.
Question 2. Apart from Kevin De Bruyne, which player currently playing in the Premier League is in the top 10 assists of all time in Premier League history?
Bruno Fernandes.
No.
Salah.
No.
Trent.
No.
Oh, beautiful DV, right.
Why have I said Trent?
I'll say the question again.
Did you say beautiful DB? Yeah. He's talking about himself in the first person.
DB sneaker freak.
Yeah, DB
Apart from
Seafried.
Kevin De Bruyne, which player currently playing in the Premier League is in the top 10 assists of all time in Premier League history?
Was it United? No. Quite new. Chelsea. Who's at Chelsea?
5,
Oh, no.
Are we all coming back in?
4, when I say 3,
When he
2,
says.
1. Just throw an answer out there.
No, let them come back in.
You're all back in.
Silva.
No.
Bruno Fernandes.
No.
I said that.
Did you? Yeah. Oh, for God's sake.
Prowse.
No.
It's me again. Oh,
You have to name
I
somebody.
know. I'm trying to think like to Arsenal. No, number Arsenal. Saka.
No. Well, I'm going to give you a clue. Think of longevity.
That's what I was trying to think of.
Longevity, like...
Henry.
No.
James Milner.
Currently playing.
Currently playing.
James
said
Milner.
James Milner.
James Milner's the correct answer.
Nah, this is.
Oh, he said, hold on.
This is
No,
ridiculous.
no, he said Henry.
He said Henry. James Milner, 89 assists, James Milner. Top
wow.
10.
It's an average of 1.2 per season he's been playing in the Premier League.
Yeah,
He's
I know.
been playing in the Premier League for 400 years.
There we
Fair
go.
play to him.
Yeah.
Well done, Tom.
And physically at it, Tom.
Yeah.
Absolute beast, isn't he?
Question 3. What was the name of Manchester City Stadium before
Main
the
Road.
Etihad? Main Road is the correct
He's
answer.
going to know that. He's old.
Have a bit of respect. There's no bullying in the workforce, mate. Come on.
They moved in 2003. They did. To the Etihad.
You might have played there because you're nearly as old as me.
We went far
you?
off. I went far off.
2003.
No, I wasn't playing then. Well, I just about.
Anyway.
There we go. Question 4 is a who am I question.
Oh, I like these.
I am a legend in the Premier League and have scored over 400 goals for club and country. Throughout my whole career, I have been on loan to 4 clubs, but I've only been permanent at 2.
Ronaldo.
No. I have been to 6 finals in my whole career and never won one. You're out, boy. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
6 finals and never won one.
Harry Kane.
Harry Kane is the correct answer.
Oh, yeah, the trophy thing.
Yeah,
Should
yeah.
have got that.
What's his celebration?
Harry Kane. That one.
That's it.
That one, yeah.
You're in, Tom.
Let's think of it.
Yeah, I should have got that.
So the scores.
That was nasty putting about the not winning any trophies.
Yeah,
Sorry.
very,
Well, I
very
just-
cutting.
We got to the finals. Tom, you're on 2. Ben, you're on 1. Watto, you're on 1. Benty, you're on 0.
0.
Question 5. Who is the highest Danish goal scorer in Premier League
Eriksen.
history? Eriksen's the correct answer, and it was Watto.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry. I'm
It's got to go surname.
Yeah,
You're taking
go
too long
surname.
with
Yeah,
the first
you're
name.
right,
Yeah, you've been
Do it correctly.
politically correct. Very good. Very
Eriksen on 54, Nicholas Bentner on 32,
Oh, Lord Bentner.
and Henrik Pedersen on 22.
What is Lord Bentner most well known for?
Pants.
Pants.
Yeah, correct.
Paddy Power pants.
Yeah.
He is.
Henrik Pedersen.
Henrik
Bolton one.
Bolton. Yeah,
Yeah.
Baldy. Baldish guy. Yeah.
22 goals. Question 6. It's a career path question. You like these, Ben, don't you?
Yeah.
I have played for West Ham, Swansea Loan, Chelsea, Manchester City, New York City FC.
Frank Lampard.
Frank Lampard's the correct answer.
You're on fire, Tom.
New Coventry manager, isn't he?
New
down
Coventry
the road.
manager. Down the road,
He
Sky
needs a little
Blues.
restaurant recommendation. We can help him out, can't we, chaps?
Definitely.
Fernando's in town.
So
3, 2, 1,
0.
No, 2 on 1.
3,
Yes, and
2,
2.
1, 0.
Question 7. Which team has scored the most goals so far this season
Arsenal.
in the Premier League? Arsenal and Liverpool, no. Both incorrect. Which?
Brentford.
No.
I know it, you know.
I'll say the question again.
No, you don't.
I think I do.
Which team has scored the most
Chelsea.
goals so far in the Premier League this season? Chelsea is incorrect.
Tottenham.
You're all back in. Tottenham.
Oh, you? No, he's in before you said it.
Are you come on?
It's all back in then.
Come on.
I'm going to give it to Benty.
come on.
He's a guest. Don't say no.
save his
You weren't
blush.
going to say it. were you?
Save his blush. He said no earpieces on this set. Hey.
28 goals so far, and Arsenal in second on 26. I think they're joint with someone. So.
I'm really, mate, are you palms? I'm like proper nervous.
Yes.
It's the pressure, honestly. Like,
Never known pressure like this, lads.
Question 8. Man City are on a non-winning streak for 7 games.
Wolves.
No. I'll start
Where
again.
does that come from?
start again.
The last
we got
win,
it,
I
we
was
got it,
thinking
yeah.
the last
They're on a
win.
non-winning streak for 7 games.
But which team was the first team to start this unbeaten run?
Oh, can I come back in now?
No, you can't. Man City are on a non-winning streak for 7 games. But which
Brentford.
team?
Bournemouth.
No and no.
Oh.
Watto, you've got all the time.
Who did you say?
Brentford.
Who was the first team to start this unbeaten run? 5,
Time him out.
4,
Don't know what it is.
3.
West Ham.
No. You're all back
Brighton.
in. No.
Arsenal.
No.
Oh, he said Arsenal, so I'm still in, right?
No way, Benji.
No. 5,
Sneak.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I don't know.
Do we want to all come back in?
Nah, come on.
That's exactly what we want to
We've
do.
guessed half more.
I'll give you a clue. It was in the League Cup. All back in.
I knew it was a league
Tottenham.
match.
Yes! Come on then, I'm back in, baby. Get in there, you little dancer.
There we go. 3, 2, 2, 1.
Oh my.
You can still claw it back.
Was it
Then
9? Is it 9?
Question 9. Eddie Howe joined Bournemouth as
Burnley.
manager. Oh my God, you've got it. He's pulled it out of the bag.
It's a win then.
Eddie Howe joined Bournemouth as manager in 2008, but what club did he leave for in
It's a winter, isn't it?
2011?
I didn't even know
Burnley.
that.
You went
Burnley.
Bournemouth, Bournemouth.
Oh, yeah.
I did
You
not
did,
know
yeah.
that. I
he
did not know.
Wow. Incredible.
It's a bad question, that.
Not a bad question.
You know, like when you were a centre forward, you just got to gamble,
Yeah.
go early,
Read it, you know what I
make
mean?
the run early.
Yeah. Agreed.
Smell it.
Right, so Tom has won the quiz.
Tom.
Do you want the final question anyway?
Yes,
Yes.
Question 10. Crystal Palace manager Oliver Glasner is from what nation?
Germany.
No. Both
Denmark.
incorrect. No, not Denmark.
Oliver Glasner. I don't
It's
know.
from what nation?
France?
No.
Poland.
All back in.
Austria.
No,
Switzerland.
no. Watto is the correct answer.
What is it? What was
it?
Austrian.
Is he?
Austrian.
Bad that. Any other Austrian managers?
Yeah, Hasenhüttl.
Hassan Hüttel.
Oh, does that mean that you've beaten Ben on the quiz? You just nabbed him, haven't you? To second place.
Oh, well, it don't count as
Second
nothing.
place is nowhere, Jeff.
Second's nowhere in life.
Hey, top of the leaderboard, me and Benji.
You deserved it today. You were the better player.
Well done, Tom.
The better player.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Great show,
Well
lads.
done,
Proud of
guys.
you.
Really good.
Not bad
Jay,
today.
just quickly, because I haven't been on every week, does that mean I'm winning because wins per
Averages.
ratio?
Nope.
It never worked for me, that.
No,
so,
end
I'll
of the
put
season.
you to the top.
No,
because-
end of the season. No, because alphabetically my name's first, so you have to leave mine. Alphabetically, and then at the end of the season, the scores is only there. Yeah, there's no asterisks in the record books, all right? There's no asterisks.
Have you seen Chelsea and Arsenal on
Everything.
everything
Yeah,
exactly
mate.
the same?
And who's top? Who goes second? Why?
Arsenal, because they start with A.
Alphabetically.
Yeah. But imagine if that was the last game of the season, it would have been a playoff game, wouldn't it?
No. Is it?
Yeah, it would have been a playoff game because every stat is the same. And then they drew Chelsea versus
They'd have gone on
Arsenal.
yellow cards next.
Oh, would
Fair
have
play.
been.
They do.
No, don't
They
they
do.
do?
They
Don't
go
they
fair
do?
play, yeah.
Don't they do head-to-head record first?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and then if that's still the same, it's fair play.
They don't do a playoff, do they?
They can do. It's never been done in the Premier League history, but like, yeah.
Have you read that recently?
Wow.
Yeah, because it happened. It was like it could have happened like a couple
No,
of
then
seasons
they
ago.
go, who's got the most Instagram followers? Right, we're going. Well done, you lot. We'll see you on Thursday. Wicked. Thank you. Bye-bye.